Hi guys, RobIsNow here. This is a time-lapse of me making a spool holder, as you can see there in the video. I wanted to create something I could hold, that could hold that weight and spin the spool as the filament was needed. So I sort of I had a bit of an idea. Oh, this is a fun bit. I made this little sort of compass device. It's not perfectly accurate for centering, but it draws a nice circle. I was quite pleased with how that came out. Little moving parts. I've been messing around with moving parts for the 3D pen stuff because I feel like I can make some more interesting stuff that way. And the compass was kind of like a sort of test device. So this spool holder, I didn't really go in with much of an idea. I was just like, right, I need a base and it's going to be a bit of a triangle shape and have some sort of pole arm sort of thing that supports the spool. The spool itself, or the holder that I'm making here, isn't actually going to move. It's going to come apart and then so you can put the spool in and then sort of sit together on little sort of connecting points. It's not the neatest thing. My design was being made up as I went along, basically. I knew it was going to be a triangle shape, as you can see here, just filling in just a very rudimentary triangle, and I was just trying to make it as strong as possible. So I ended up going over this with sort of support beams, and you can see this is very much messy. Like, if I was doing this again, I would have just drawn this straight. I wouldn't have used the sort of late perspex-y thing that I'd tried to draw on, or acetate sheet, because that kind of made doing a straight line quite difficult. And when I made the second piece of this triangle, I did it straight on paper, and it was a lot neater. I just followed some lines and it made a lot more sense. So here I'm just adding in some supports and trying to make the corners stronger because they're going to have to support quite a bit of weight. And I opted for a triangle shape because triangles are strong. But I feel like I could have done a much better job. This is very, very messy. The pen is quite slow, so this is sped up by, I think it's 1800% on the video. It might be 1200, but I know there's different bits. Yeah, I just wanted to show what I was doing with those points. We get a little transition here, and this is where I had to change the spool. So what's interesting about this piece is I just used the filament bundles that I'd bought like a 10-pack of, and I had a few left that I really didn't know what I was going to use for, so I thought, do you know what, let's just use them all. So you can see with the design how far each piece of these filament pieces lasted, and you see this pink base barely got the rest of this triangle done as we zoom through this, speeding up. You can see like that clear piece that was used originally, that did that triangle. This pink piece does about this much. You'll see in a moment, we transitioned to a different pink. It's like a brighter pink, and we didn't quite finish supporting this triangle with it. So here we go. There's the next piece of filament, and this is another brighter pink filament. What I noticed with these filaments, they were all bought from the same place. I didn't actually have to tweak the temperature. Whereas with other filaments that I'd been supplied with the pen, I did have to change the temperature to make stuff work nicely, but these all seem to work at the temperature. I didn't change the temperature setting once on this pen. So here we go. I'm just reinforcing like the sort of legs that keeps this side of the triangle upright. We just do 2 of those. Once that comes along, you'll see this is the next day. It was 2 days worth of work. That was where it was done. And then to save you the pain of watching that again, we made another one with some orange filament and another sort of greyish one. Here I'm making the circular support that the spool is going to sit on. Now, if I was doing this again, I would have made this whole cylinder separately, because essentially what I've done here is I made a circle, and I made another circle later on that I was going to put struts on, and you'll see it later on. But the whole design process and execution left a lot to be desired. But you can see it fits in there. So the idea is that will go through and it will sit on this triangle. Here I'm making the supports for the other side of the triangle that will sit on the pink legs that you can see in shot there. So here we go, we're just filling those in, making them a bit stronger and peeling them off my work table with a ruler. That seems to be the neatest way of getting things off. I try and do as little of the work on paper as possible because when you pull the PLA up, it just pulls the paper with it. So here I've attached one leg. I'm going to fill in the next leg and then stick that on. And you notice there was like a little pea-sized blob on that pink piece, and that's going to keep it's going to keep that in place, in position. Once there's some weight on this whole unit, they don't come apart. So they don't have to be 100% flush fitting. I did try and improve the fit a little bit so that it didn't wobble too much. But on the whole, it's very basic design and it works. So I'm quite pleased with how it's come out. So here I am just fine tweaking that little dowel kind of device. Here's the second circle that I worked on, and this one I thought more of a bicycle type kind of wheel, and then I realised probably didn't need that much support because I'm sticking it straight onto the triangle piece. Here I am, I've measured out the distance I need for the supports, so these all get stuck on to that green circle that I've put in place. It's right there, it's more serving as a guide. I did fill in a bit more of the triangle with the green to make sure it was properly stuck on. And here I'm just refining the length of those supports because they were a bit too long in places. So you see me just chop them down to size. I do that for the rest. And at this point I'd run out of all of my previous filament, so I have now opened the spool up and I'm using bits of the silver spool PLA that you just saw, and that finishes this cylinder off. And once we're done here, we've nearly finished the video. This bit took quite a long time. I didn't fill this in 100%. I did mostly the top and a bar along the bottom just to give it a bit more rigidity. But yeah, this did take a while, but it was quite satisfying to see it complete. And once that's done, you'll see I put it all together and just had a look, and I didn't like how it wasn't going to sit properly against that plastic, so I decided I would make like a little what's it called, like a bed here. So this, I'm going to do a little arch of plastic here that circular or that cylinder can sit into. So I just build that up. I try and go for thicker PLA bits here because it's got to support quite a bit of weight. So here I was like, okay, that works. It's now sitting in place. It doesn't move when there's too much weight on it. You'll see me testing the weight here. There we go. I'm like, yeah, that looks like it's going to hold. And I was quite pleased with how it came out. And now the final test. I had tested this a few times in between these shots, so I do know it's going to fit in. But yeah, here we go. We're going to put it on the spool and then put the whole piece together. And ta-da! It's not the easiest fit because you can't see where those feet supports are once it's all like this. So as I say, it's a very rudimentary design and it can be refined greatly. The whole process of putting it together could be refined greatly, but it works when you don't, snap the filament in it there. But there you go. It spins on its own weight. There's no moving parts. It's more just that the spool will spin on that device. But on the whole, I'm really pleased with it. It works. It is what I envisioned, and you can see here a side shot. And yeah, I'm pleased with it. It's turned out well. if you enjoyed that, if you've got any tips or advice on how better to edit this video, let me know. But yeah, if you want to see more, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.